Hey guys, today we're going to go over two things involving circles, arc length and sector area. So arc length is really close to circumference. It's just that instead of going all the way around the circle, we'll only want a certain portion of the edge. So this arc length is represented by the letter S. So if you see that lowercase s there, that represents arc length. R, so here's R, and there in the formula, that is the radius. And then that theta symbol would be the angle of the arc length that you want. So this angle here that's facing that arc length. So that is the angle. And one thing special about that angle is that it has to be in radians. I'm going to write rad. So angle in radians. But otherwise, it's a pretty simple formula. You just multiply the radius times the angle. So radius times the angle, making sure that that angle is in radians. Okay, so if you open to the inside, 1 through 4 are all examples of this. And it says find the length of the indicated arc. So just so that I don't forget, I'm going to write the formula again up here. S equals R times theta. Okay, so when I'm looking at this circle, see how this edge is darker than the rest? So they want us to find the length of that arc. So they give us the radius. Radius is 8. And they give us theta. Theta is 315 degrees. Only we need to convert it to radians. So we learned yesterday to convert degrees to radians, you have to multiply by pi over 180. So you can do that now, convert that to radians and then plug it in. But since we're going to be multiplying everything, I think we just can fill in the formula this way. So S for arc length equals R for radius. So I'm going to plug in my 8. I'm going to put in parentheses. Then I would need my angle. My angle is 315. But in order to change it to radians, I'm going to multiply by pi over 180. So like I said, instead of doing this separately, we're just going to put it all together with the formula. So then from here, it just turns into a calculator problem. Type the whole thing into your calculator. Make sure that you are using the pi button, not 3.14. So actual pi button on the calculator. And let me type it in to see what I get. I get... let's round to the nearest hundredths. So I get 43.98, and this is centimeters. All right, so then let's try the next one. So same thing, arc length of that darker area. So we have our radius. Our radius is 19. And then we have our theta, our angle's 150. So we have the same issue as before. That angle needs to be in radians. So first I'm going to put 19 for my radius. I'm going to put 150 because that's my angle. And then I'm going to put pi over 180. That's the conversion factor to get it to turn into radians. And same as before, just type the whole thing into the calculator. Let's round to the nearest hundreds again, and I get 49.74. And this time they're measuring in feet. Okay, next one. So look for the darker edge. So they want us to find out how long that piece is. We have our radius, it's 13 feet. And we have our angle, it's 3 pi over 4. So in this case, it's already in radians. So you're not going to need to do that conversion factor. You could just type it in the way it is. So our arc length is going to be radius, which is 13, times the angle, 3 pi over 4. So no conversion factor necessary in this one, just type it in. And we get 30.63 measuring in feet. Okay, and then last one on this side. That circle has a radius of 14. This dark edge, that angle is pi over 2. So all we need to do to find the arc length is to multiply those two numbers. So S equals 14 times pi over 2. Okay, so let me just put this into the calculator really quick. And I get 21.99 measuring in centimeters. Okay, so those are the 4 for arc length. And I just want to reiterate, these first two, the angle is measured in degrees. That's why we had to throw in that conversion factor. The bottom two, the angle was already in radians, so we didn't need to convert anything. It just stayed the way it is. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you today is sector area. So imagine if you were to find the area of this entire circle. So we would do, if you remember that formula, area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, but this time I don't want the entire circle. I only want this piece. So what we're going to do is this formula instead. So 1/2 theta represents our angle. So let's actually fill this in as we're going. So A stands for sector area. Okay, R stands for radius. And radius is always going to be that half. And then theta will stand for the angle has to be in rad. So angle in radians. But we are following this formula anytime we want sector area, 1/2 theta r squared. So back to the inside, we have 4 examples of this. And same thing as before, the first two have degrees, the second two have radians. So find the area of the shaded in region. Just so that we don't have to be flipping back and forth, I'm going to write the formula right here. Area equals 1/2 pi r squared. Sorry. 1/2 theta r squared. Yeah, I had to double check. Okay, so 1/2 theta r squared. So on this circle that we have, we're just trying to find the area of that shaded in area, and they tell us that that piece is 88 degrees. The other thing that they tell us is that the radius is 19. So I have R, theta is 88, but we are going to have to switch that to radians, and then 1/2 just always has to be there. So to find area of that section, okay, so 1/2, part of the formula, then our degree, so 88. We need to change that into radians, so we're going to multiply by pi over 180. And then radius squared, so 19 to the second power. And then that whole thing, just type it into the calculator. And let's do what we did before. Let's round to the nearest hundreds. So give me a second to type this in. And I get 277.23. We're measuring in feet, but because this is area, we would say square feet. So you have to put the little 2 on your units. Okay, let's do the next one. So this is a bigger section, 260 degrees, but let's find the area of that colored in part. So A equals, always start with 1/2. Okay, 260 degrees, but we need to change that to radians, so we're going to multiply by pi over 180. and then our radius squared. So 11 to the second power. And then that whole thing goes into the calculator. And I get 274.54. This time it's miles, so square miles. Okay, next one. Area of only the shaded in part. So A equals 1/2. Then our angle, which is 5 pi over 3. It's already in radians, so you don't need to do the conversion. You don't need to do pi over 180. We're going to skip that. So we can go straight to the 7.1 squared. So that's the radius squared. And when I type this in, I get 131.97. This is square centimeters. Okay, and then last one. So area equals 1/2. Always start with your angle, and it's already in radians. So 13 pi over 18. Then we get our radius, so 21.4 squared. Type this whole thing into the calculator. And I get 519.54. This will be square meters. Okay, and that is sector area. So these here, they're pretty simple. It's just a formula to follow. The rest is calculator. Just be aware that if they give you degrees, you need to throw in that extra conversion factor. If it's in radian, then we don't need that. Same thing with the arc length. All right, then that's it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow.